everything's in the heat of the moment, I'm thinking about what I need to do in my car and what we need to do to be successful. There's two things that I'm very passionate about. That's my family and my race car. If you mess with either one of them, I'm subject to do something about it.
You keep my daddy out of this loud man.
Your dad?
Why the hell did you do that, Plan?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Orange Bumper Podcast.
All right, man. Here we are. Another day, another dollar.
Another day. I don't know what the dollar.
Another dime, maybe.
Dime, I guess.
Well, finally getting the season back going.
Oh, yeah.
Finally getting back behind the wheel. New Smyrna's way gone. Bowman Gray's on the horizon. Smart's the current.
Yep.
Anderson was a good race for you. It was
Not
a good
bad.
race for Slate, too, both of you.
Not bad. Forward drive has been our problem for a while, and learned some things, and Phil at PSR helping us on some stuff, and at Anderson, our biggest problem was just too tight because we had so much drive. we didn't talk about Florence yet, have we? I get lost
Did we
in
not?
We talked about New Smyrna, I think, but we didn't talk about Florence. So Florence
we skipped a week.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
could skip Florence if you want to. It wasn't that good, but just fight and drive at Florence. Our problem has been that we're on old tires. We seem to be one of the fastest cars, but we can't make the raw speed, and so therefore you start 12th.
Right.
By the time you get to the top 5, you've worn out your stuff a whole lot more than they have, because when everybody's riding, you're kind of running the same speed. Well, to get caught back up, you got to run harder than they're running up front. So you're actually wearing your stuff out more than the leader is. So Florence, we were, what were we, 6th? Yep. They were 6, 7.
Yeah.
Me and Slate were 6 and 7. And at Anderson, we qualified 6th, which is a lot better than we've been doing. It's hard to believe that I'm excited about qualifying 6th, but at the same time, we've been 10th or so. So it was nice to be able to be closer to the front, so I didn't have to run as hard. And the race started out a little tight, got to 3rd, finished 3rd in the stage, and ran 3rd about all day. Ended up 3rd. So not bad. Slate came from 16th to 5th in like 40 laps. Yeah. So he got caught up in that deal where Joey got turned around. And but yeah, as far as that goes, it was a solid day. As a racer, it's like Roy used to tell me, no matter what the scoreboard says, if you learn something, it's a win. So we got something to build on, I think. Coming up, the next race for us is for the Smart Tour is South Boston. So I like South Boston. So that'll be good. But I want to let everybody know that we are, I won't be in my car this weekend, but I'll be in the PSR house car, the 17, for Phil and Jen and them again.
Is that the one that you had at New Smyrna?
The one I raced in New Smyrna.
Okay, yeah.
I'll be driving it at Caraway this weekend. There's an open show at Caraway.
How many laps is it?
75 lapper. Okay. Slate is going to, we joked about Slate's going to crew chief Jason and flip roles this weekend. Jason's running his car.
Oh, good.
So, I'm excited about that, man. It's a different role for me. Just show up with a helmet.
Right.
It's
Which
good
is
and
crazy.
bad. Well, it's good and bad because I'm hands-on, but
Right.
at the same time, it allows me to just focus on driving, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to that. So that'll be fun.
Seems like the car counts for the first 2 races of Smart have been pretty good.
Yeah, we had 25 last
Yeah.
weekend. So yeah.
Smart's putting the pedal down. I noticed. I don't know if they've hired somebody new in social media or they're just upping their presence a little bit. But I've enjoyed their videos and some of the stuff they've been doing. Some of their on track content's really good.
Mm-hmm. Smart's always been really good at that, and Chris Williams understands the game, and that's the biggest part is understanding the game, how to play the game.
Yeah.
And they understand that, and the Dillner brothers do a great job at that too. So, yeah, it's been good, man. It's been. Somebody said yesterday you finished 6th, and then you finished 3rd. So, if you look at the pattern there, the win is next. So,
let's hope
I'd sure
so.
love to win that race at South Boston, man. That'll be a big show. There's gonna be a bunch of good cars there. So, that's probably what's considered the biggest show of the year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a packed house. Oh, it always is. I mean,
When you think about how competitive it is at somewhere like Florence and Anderson, and when you put South Boston in the mix and put $20,000 on the line, you got to bring your A game. So, like I said, I like South Boston, like running there, and I feel like where we are with the car right now is we're in a good place. So we'll see, man.
From a spectator perspective, the more money you have to run for, the more entertainment it is.
Yeah.
As drivers and car owners, y'all probably don't. I mean, you like running for big money, but it also causes a lot of stupid people to do a lot of stupid things.
Right. Well, as like in my case, I mean, I tried just as hard to win as Anderson as I will South Boston.
I know, but I'm just saying.
But at the same time, you have to, if there's any way possible to step up your game,
that's
you will.
The one.
Like we don't do a lot of testing because most of the tracks we've run at before. And I feel like we get enough practice on race day. Is it advantageous to do more testing? Probably so. But financially and as far as time, we just are not able to test a lot. But for the King of the Modified race, we're going to test. So that's one of the things that, you can elevate your game is to test one day and kind of get a little closer. And it definitely helps. So we'll see, man. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Well, but before we introduce our guests and get to doing some deep dives, and y'all are going to really like our guest this week, I've been looking forward to this fella coming in for a while just because I appreciate his the way he handles himself. But here locally, and a lot of our viewers that are weekly attendees of Bowman Gray have followed the news about a Forsyth County Sheriff's deputy that was killed in the line of duty last week. And I know that you've got some ties in there, and it was just really important to us, just because of the things that we believe in, and that we kind of touch on that, and just ask for everybody to keep both the deputy and both the troopers that were killed the 2 weeks before that, all of them in vehicle crashes, all of them on duty. There's a lot of stuff that happens while you're sleeping, while you're at work, that you never see and understand. And it's people like that do things that allow people like us to be able to have the freedoms that we have. And I know it kind of hit home with you when Caleb was killed. And, it's just important for us to keep them in our prayers and remember them.
Yeah, well, not only there's a lot of ties with me and with that deal with Caleb, because if anybody remembers back in the day, my Uncle Michael that used to help, we called him Paul.
One of the coolest dudes out there.
Yeah, so it's his granddaughter's, Caleb was his granddaughter's husband. And it happened in Walnut Cove, which the area where the crash was 3 miles from our race shop. So I just, like you touched on, I want people to understand that no matter how it happens, because it was an accident. It's always, it was an accident what happened.
It was a crash.
It was a crash.
An accident is preventable.
It was a crash. But you have to understand that.
An accident is not preventable, sorry.
Whenever law enforcement, first responders, and people like that, like you used to be, that put your life on the line, you leave that morning knowing you might not come back. And to still leave knowing that is where you have to appreciate it. So that was with Caleb tragic. It was tragic because I was told he got up, he got ready, he kissed Haley Faye, his wife, said, "I love you." They exchanged "I love yous," and he left. And within minutes, they were notified of the crash. So that's tragic. I can't imagine what they're going through. So
when you sign that conditional offer of employment going into law enforcement, you know that things like that can happen. You hope it never does, but it can happen. But you still willingly sign it.
Yeah.
And, the race car drivers have a similar. When you get in a race car that things could go bad.
Yeah, the difference
and you
is
accept it. I mean,
on a racer's end, yes, it is the same. We know that, and I've told my wife, if something happens to me in a race car, don't be sad.
Yeah,
I went out the way I wanted to go out.
Right.
I was doing something I love, but at the same time, that was for me, for the love of a passion of a sport that I love to do. Law enforcement does it for other people.
Right.
So that's the big difference, is they put their life on the line for other people. So, just please keep their family in your prayers. It's going to be, I think it's thrown around that the service is going to be Monday. It's they're going through a lot, but I want to give a shout out to the Sheriff's Department and everybody involved that taking care of the family and making sure they've got everything they need, and the communities come together. And I know there's with the troopers the same thing, but I'm just a little closer to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've seen a little bit more of what's going on. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised at everything that's happening to make sure that they got everything they need. Because, like we've talked about before, the explosion with the coffee truck, life still goes on.
Yeah.
Bills still happen.
Yeah.
Kids still need attention and stuff. So, it's heartwarming on one side to see what I was going on. But yeah,
It's just unfortunate.
The biggest thing is just pray for the family and everybody involved because it's tough right now.
It's just unfortunate that it takes grief and tragedy to see the best in
To
people.
bring people together.
You know, we saw that
absolutely.
on 9/11. You know?
Absolutely.
But
So,
so please keep that family and the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office in your thoughts and prayers. As we shift gears, today we've brought in, and I've kind of thought a couple different ways how to introduce you. I think the best way to do it is the Landon S. Huffman.
Easy now.
Just trying to make sure I get it right.
That's the wrong one.
it's the wrong one.
I know, that's why I said it. So just wanted to make sure.
That tripped me out, and I was like, "Wait a minute, there's two."
No.
Because I knew you. I don't know the other one.
No, so
Slate was like, "No, Dad, there's two."
And I think that like the dad's names are the same too. Like there's a Robert in there somewhere. Is that right?
No. So Shane Huffman is
Right.
Landon S.'s dad, Landon Shane Huffman. And my dad's Robert Huffman, but it's
Okay.
interesting because Shane raced with my dad, but also was around my dad when he was younger, and Dad kind of mentored Shane a little bit, had him at the racetrack and stuff, and Shane held me when I was very little, and then now he has a kid named Landon Huffman, so interesting.
That's crazy.
And no relation at all.
No relation.
That's funny,
None.
man.
None. And the reason I said that, the first Cars Tour race I went to, there was where I was flying the drone, there was a guy beside me, and there was an argument between him and another guy of which one you were. And the guy was like, "No, I'm telling you, man, and they're both drunk as Cooter Brown. I'm telling you, man, the guy out there in the whatever car you're driving is this guy." And then finally they look at me, and I was like, "Dude, I don't know. This is my first race here, dude. I couldn't tell you, man." But no, I know people get you confused all the time. But no, you've been around quite a while. You've got a tremendous social media following that people enjoy your personality and how you do things. And so I'm looking forward to the show today. I got a couple things I want to tee you and Bert up with that I think will probably
Go for it.
I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you guys having me on. I got to know Bert over the last couple of years, being able to race a couple modified races and be involved in your world. So I'm excited to be here.
Now you've run, correct me if I'm wrong, some truck races a couple years ago. Obviously, you're known for late models. You've started running the modified some. What do you think is the biggest difference between the modified and the late model?
There's a lot of differences. I do feel like, my biggest learning curve in the modified, I guess probably the best way to put it, is how much the car changes, over the course of a race. A late model stock car or an asphalt car in general that's not a modified doesn't, or at least everything I've driven in the past, it doesn't really change significantly over the course of a race. You might trend tight or trend loose or whatever, but the modified, and it could have been who was working on it because it was me and Dad and, my late model guys, and we've never messed with the modified before, but we just had a hard time keeping the car under me over the course of a race, and that to me was the biggest difference. I mean, obviously there's more motor, but with more motor, there's more tires. So
Less weight.
Yep, less weight. On new tires, modified drive's great.
Yeah.
But after 40 laps, it's evil sometimes. So.
Did you have any kind of issues? Because one of the things I didn't understand about late models was that, like, it's pretty much from the green flag drops, like, you go. But with the modifieds, there's a lot of saving, like tire saving. Did you find that there's a lot of difference in tire fall off between the modifieds and what you were used to?
I mean, there's definitely significant fall off with the modified, but a late model, it just depends on where you're racing. Because, you go to Anderson, we still have tire wear in a late model. It's just you approach it differently. You don't want to slide the tire in a late model. A lot of people piss the tire off and then you're done after that. Similar in a modified, but you can really punish the tire in the modified if you're not being careful. Mm-hmm. And in a late model, there's a little bit more lenience to it. But, you go to a track with high grip and a modified, you still have to take care of the tire. You can race it a lot harder, I learned, but it's still, detrimental if you overheat the tire or push the tire. So in a late model, at Tri-County or a South Boston, you can blister the tire if you're sliding it, but you can race it to its limit, and still be comfortable with not wearing it out.
Both of y'all have something in common in that you're, next generation drivers from your family, and your dad was very accomplished. He had how many Hickory championships he had?
He won 2 track championships at Hickory in a late model stock car, 1 at Tri-County, and then he raced predominantly for most of his career in the Dash Series.
He had like 5 championships there, didn't he?
Yeah, he's tied with Dean Combs for the most championships in that division, which ended in 2003. So he has the second most wins.
Were you did and I know Bert's talked about this a bunch of times. How did you get into racing? Because obviously it was your family's
You're born
life at the
into
time.
it,
But I mean, was it something you
don't have a
always?
choice.
Yeah, you kind of did.
Was it
Well, you didn't want one though.
No.
I didn't want a choice.
No,
I
hell
knew
no.
I was going to race
For
Yeah.
sure.
Did you ever feel, or either one of you feel like you had to live up to expectations based on what your dad said, or your
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember I was picking at Slate. I remember when I went from it was kind of happening. You didn't realize it until you realized it. I remember when I went from Gary's boy, that's Gary's boy, to Bert. I remember when that kind of was, I felt like, oh, all right, maybe,
stepped out of the shadow.
maybe I've stepped out of the shadow a little bit. So I was picking at Slate about, there's a transition there. And I get there's pressure, but the only way to cast a bigger shadow is be bigger. To get out of somebody else's shadow is be bigger.
You're not wrong.
But yeah, I remember it wasn't a bad thing, and I don't know how to explain it.
It's not a bad thing. I think
I didn't mind being Gary's boy.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm proud of what my dad's
Right,
done, and he was a badass race car driver. He's still a badass, and I'm fortunate I get to work with him every single weekend.
Yeah.
Today's his birthday too, so
Oh, man,
happy
that's
birthday,
cool.
Dad. But I think that I don't feel like Dad ever put pressure on me to outperform him.
Right.
He just wants to see me perform
He
well.
wanted you to. Yeah.
I'm sure you feel the exact same way about Slate. You want to see him have success because I don't know this because I have 2 cats and not children yet, but but Dad always said I enjoy watching you race and seeing you have success as much or more than I did when I was driving the car.
Right.
And it's pretty cool what you get to do with Slate right now where you get to race against him. I never had that opportunity to do that with my dad. Still trying to get him back in the car. Got him in one last year for a few laps, and I think he itched it a little bit, but we'll see what we can do this year. But I do feel like for me personally, there's always a goal of making my family proud.
Mhm.
I'm chasing a lot of those accolades that my dad achieved because I want to be able to say that I done what he did and one day be able to tell my kids, hey, I was able to win championship at Hickory just like my dad. I was able to win a championship at Tri-County just like my dad. So to me, the family aspect of it when it comes to that, there's definitely a little pressure that I put on myself, but I don't ever feel like Dad's really putting any pressure on me. He just wants to go have fun and race, and we're all racers. Nobody likes to lose. We all want to win. So, you go to the racetrack with the goal to win.
Slate ran you up in the marbles,
Dude,
right?
I backed out and I hear, wow, like he's still in the gas and I backed out. And I was thinking to myself, dude, what are you doing? But he didn't show favoritism.
No.
He'll drive it. He's never been faulted about not driving the car hard enough. And, we've said for years, it's easier to pull a guy back than it is to push a guy. And he's never been shy of driving it hard. But in the same way, my dad never, we joked about, the first race I ever won was at Bowman Gray as a 50 lapper, and I started outside pole of my dad. And I beat him to turn 1. And at the time, I just beat Gary Myers. I just beat my dad, and I won the race. And then now that I'm racing against Slate, I think to myself, did he cut me a break? You know what I mean? I think that. And like with Slate, I don't cut him a break.
Well, see,
he doesn't cut me a break.
I wonder.
But at the same time, if I can't win, I want Slate to win. I want Slate to win. So I think the pressure, like you said, that if there is any pressure, it's the pressure we put on ourselves.
For sure.
And I know Slate's the same way. He puts pressure on himself.
And you pay attention to social media, and Bert's blocking for Jason, Jason's blocking for Slade, all this stuff.
because we do that.
And
I'll let you win tonight. Go ahead.
I'm sitting there thinking, when my kids were like 6 and 7 years old, and we're playing horse on the basketball goal. No, I'm not letting you win.
No.
If I have to shake the goal when you shot, you're not gonna.
The only thing
earn
I've ever let one of my kids win at is like when they were little playing tic-tac-toe.
I won't even do that.
And I would do it one time to let them get their one win. And then after that, no more. You know what I mean?
We went to Chuck E. Cheese, and Connor was 5 or 6, and we were both doing the skee ball. You know, you roll the ball and it goes up, and we both do it, and he has like 200 more points than me. And as a 5 or 6 year old, and if you know my son, it's no surprise, he just looks up and he's like, "Dad, you suck."
Yeah. We're playing some more.
We're playing some more, son. I bet you I went through $25 playing skee ball.
Proving a point.
Yeah.
Funny, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he beat me more
I was
times
gonna
than I
say,
beat him.
did you lose? Did you lose? 10
I
more
lost the
times?
money and I lost the pride.
Yeah.
But, well, with so you've had the opportunity to run smart and cars. You haven't run cars. I would like to.
He
say
needs
yet.
to.
I'd like to.
Yeah,
he needs
well,
to.
And,
I'd like to.
we're going to bring that up here in a little bit. We're going to make a somewhat business proposition.
Oh, here we go.
It's not my money, so I'll make the proposition. But with the 2 series, and I love both series for different reasons. What do you think if one series could learn from the other one? You know, if you could mix and match, like Smart does this, I wish Cars would do this, or Cars does this, and like one of the complaints I hear with Cars is just way too much testing. Like you spend way too much money testing. Smart, you know, it's a 3/4 a day deal. You get there, you unload, you set up, you practice, you qualify, you race, you go home.
Mm-hmm.
If you could interchange any of those after running both of them, what would you, and if anything, what would you interchange?
You pretty much hit the nail on the head. After doing the modified deal, you know, I grew up low budget racing, didn't have the money to, you know, go test all the time or throw tires at a race car and all that good stuff. Well, the modified kind of plays into that type of, I mean, people are putting tires on, don't get me wrong. There's money in all forms of racing, right? But the Smart Tour has one practice. You know, you have a 45-minute or an hour practice, whatever it is, and that's the only practice that you have that weekend. There is a test ban. I think you do get 4 tests or something like
Rookies
that.
get 6.
That's okay.
Everybody else
That's
gets
fine.
4.
I think that's fair. One day Friday test. I mean, the Cars Tour, we practice Friday every week, and most teams are there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Some teams are there more than that, depending on the week. So it's hard to compete with money a lot of times, and I think that the Smart Tour sort of levels that playing field a little bit. It made me feel like I could take that modified car I had last year and show up and not be behind the 8 ball because somebody's been there 3 days testing.
Right.
And we've made that known in the Cars Tour, that test ban is something that needs to happen. It would help the teams, but I think there's enough money in the series right now that the money kind of fights back against the guys.
The vote gets skewed
for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll ever happen on our end. I hope that it does, but I do think that that's one thing the Smart Tour does better. On the other side of things, I think that the Cars Tour seems to have a little more structure at times, and the races at times were, you know, handled with a little more urgency. Like, I can't tell you how many modified races I ran. Almost every modified race that I've ran took 3 hours to run. Like, they were just long races, and for a 99-lap race. I know the pit stops and stuff like that changed that, but I do feel, and there's Cars Tour races that have been horrible too, but the time frame, at least the Cars Tour's made a stronger effort in recent to try to speed up the show. And that's one thing that I think sometimes the Smart Tour maybe struggles on a little bit. But I mean, overall, I think both series are very successful right now. The car counts show that, and the fans come out, and it's cool to have 2 touring divisions in our, you know, southeastern region that are successful.
We are Citrusafe, where good grilling is made better. We have prided ourselves in being the industry pioneer for safe grill cleaners. Our citrus-powered grill cleaner spray, nylon bristle brushes, and pads is all you need when it comes time to safely clean your grill. We strive to not only save you fuel, but also avoid the dangers associated with ingesting metal wire grill brushes. Citrusafe is available at all major retailers nationwide and online on Amazon.com. Citrusafe, the proud sponsor of the Orange Bumper Podcast.
Biggest thing Cars Tour's got going for him in that aspect is Kip.
Yes, he's
Kip's
got
really
NASCAR
good.
experience.
Kip is really good.
he's sharp.
No messing around. He
sharp.
understands it.
Yeah.
He understands it.
And they've done some things wrong and done some things right, and they've learned from it, just like, you know, every series. I remember last year we had a horrible rule in the Cars Tour where it was contact. If you make contact at all in a wreck, you go to the back. So no matter if you got hit in the ass and kept going, you were considered a part of that wreck. You had to go to the rear. So it was atrocious. I mean, like Wake County, I ran second all night, and then somebody on a restart chopped down on me, come all the way across my nose. They spun out. It was pretty clear, like incidental contact, and I was, for better terms, couldn't really avoid it. I mean, it was 5 to go or 10 to go, whatever. But they sent me to the back, and it ruined my race. And then you had moments where people were just an innocent bystander and got doored running 8th and kept going in the wreck and were sent to the rear. So thankfully, they sort of worked around that, and now they just went back to the good old, make a decision. If they feel you were at fault, you go to the back. And to me, that's the best solution when it comes to a contact rule. But that was one of the
I like
things.
the blend rule.
Yeah, or the blend
wherever
rule.
you blend at.
Yep.
Even if you get turned.
Yep. If
Now,
you're able to get back going.
Because the whole here's my dilemma as a racer. If you cause the caution, you go to the rear. Okay, you're leading and I'm running second, and I dump you. Did you cause the caution or did I cause the caution? See what I'm saying? You can interpret that 2 different ways. I caused the caution by spinning him out, but by him spinning out,
He's the one that spun.
caused the caution.
You're the one that caused it. Yeah.
So I understand the whole, if it was intentional, you black flag him or whatever. That's just a judgment call.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, if I dump you and you come in and you have to miss me and you get halfway stopped and then you drive away and 2 cars went by, when that's where you blended at, that's where you go. That makes it simple. That makes it simple. So a lot of series, and Bowman Gray fights this too, is they try to make it a lot harder than it really is. Unless it's full-blown blatant that you took a guy out, I'm not in favor of the black flag stuff. There was a car that got black flagged this past weekend. Couple weekends ago, I'll just be honest, let's just talk about it. When Shanette didn't take tires at Florence, the whole field put tires on, and Shanette stayed out. Everybody knew what was coming. We go down into one, Jake Crum gets into him, he gets turned around. Well, should Jake Crum be penalized for it? He wasn't. The year before in Florence, when the 7 car got into the O2, he was penalized for it. So now you've opened up a
can of worms.
Worms of, was that intentional or was that intentional? Well, it wasn't intentional, but
it happened.
It's still his fault.
Yeah.
So I've always just been, let's call it racing. And the racers will settle it between themselves most of the time. Now, like I said, you see a guy overdrive the corner 3 car lengths and body slam the guy and take him out, that's one thing.
Right.
But just like with the 7 and the O2 last year at Florence, I mean, that was, and the 7 car admitted, he said, I messed up. I got in too hot and I got into him. But he didn't do it with malice. You know what I mean? He didn't think, I'm going to go in there and knock him out of the way. It just happened. To me, that's just racing. And maybe that's coming from somebody that grew up in Bowman Gray that's used to a little more contact.
Right.
Well,
But I think they make it a lot harder than it is.
I do think that your genre of racing, when it comes to modified, it's different for late models too, because you're racing against a bunch of old school guys for the most part. I mean, that's one of the things that I really noticed and I liked about the modified world was there wasn't really very many pay drivers. These were, for the most part, families or guys that have raced modifieds for years. There's respect there, or lack of respect, depending on the driver. Yeah. But for the most part, the drivers do police it. And in our late model stuff, we've got all these kids coming in, and just there is some guys like me. There's the Ronnie Bassett's, the Ryan Millingtons, and late model guys that have been able to stay in it and continue to do it, fortunately. But there are a lot of, almost, I'm going to say 85% of the cars racing in Cars Tour are all rental deals. And it's tough because those kids don't really give a crap. They'll run you over in a heartbeat, and it's hard to police it because, if I retaliate to them, I'm going to get penalized. Right. But if they say, oh, well, it's, drivers police it all, we're just going to have kids running over kids the whole race, and it's going to be a horrible racing product. So it definitely depends on how much faith you have in the driver. I have faith in the modified guys to settle it amongst themselves because there is a little more respect, I think, given. And even if you don't have respect for that guy, you still race with a certain level of respect because you understand the consequences of crashing,
right?
Where there's no consequences, or a lot of the guys in the Cars Tour don't understand you know, what the consequences
How,
are.
how many drivers in the car store, just ballpark average, do you think actually turn wrenches, work on the car, have that investment that equates to respect? Because you've talked about it a bunch of times. You know, there's a lot of times you don't.
You paying for it and working on it, you drive it different.
Right.
For sure.
I mean, how many? You know, would you say half of less than half?
Yeah, probably 20%.
And I think that's a lot of where that lack of respect comes in. That was one of the things I
Totally
wanted to
agree.
ask both of you is because racing is getting just young. It's like a race to the bottom. Like how young can we start these kids in full body cars? I've seen it with both of you. I watched you. I want to say it was, I can't remember what race it was. You worked this guy, kid, for like 20 laps. Like you never touched him, worked him. Finally made a good pass coming off of 2. And then the very next lap, this kid just dive bombs in the corner and just doors the hell out of you. I'm sitting there thinking like, what? I know how my temper is. Right. I know how yours used to be. And I've seen it happen, you know, with you. How do you teach etiquette and respect? Do you like what's the answer?
That's $1 million question, ain't it?
It is. I mean,
I know what needs to happen.
it needs to get their ass beat.
Well,
But
I mean, how do you keep your kid from putting his hand in the cookie jar
Well,
8 times in a row? You beat their hind end. I mean,
with
that's
adults,
what, you know?
you can punch somebody in the damn mouth.
Right.
But when you're racing with
That's
kids,
tough with the kids.
When you're racing with kids, if Junior comes through and knocks you out of the way, and you know everybody's celebrating, if you do the same thing, well, you know I can't believe you do that to a kid. You know he's just a kid trying to learn.
On veterans like us, it's tough because it's a no-win. If the kid beats you, you just got beat by a kid. If you beat the kid or if you have to knock him around because he knocked you around first, you're the bad guy. Some way or another, you're going to be the bad guy. So it does make it's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's tough. And I remember, and this is one thing I appreciated with Ryan Newman, whether he was right or not was irrelevant. I didn't care. But last year at Anderson, Slate missed a shift, and it made Ryan mad because he was behind Slate. Slate restarted 3rd or 4th and missed a shift.
helped me.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So anyway,
I went all the way to like 4th.
Ryan was upset about it. And then they got together, and then after the race, Ryan ran into the back of Slate. And after the race, Ryan came up and he says, "Look, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to Slate, but I want you there with me." And I appreciated that. You know what I mean? I appreciated that. Whether he was right or not didn't matter. But I appreciated it.
And he did it in the hauler.
He did it. He came up on pit road and we walked over to the side.
Privately,
and I
yeah.
appreciated that.
Yeah.
But that was still tough for Ryan
Yeah.
because Slate was 16 years old.
Right.
You know? And just like when some of the, what I call them punk kids, they love it when they make a big deal.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There'll be a post
There'll
on
be
social media today.
4 or 5 different pages
where I've
about
said punk kids, so they feel like they've been recognized again.
sure.
So they'll make a little post, you know.
It'll resurface.
It'll
yeah.
resurface. He mentioned us, you know. So there's been times where I've had run-ins where, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
They were in the wrong, and they need to be smacked. Or at least if me and you have a problem, and I can come to you, and we can talk, and we might argue, and we might throw blows, but we're still grown men.
But for the most
You can't
time,
even have the conversation with the kid because you can't take that chance.
there's no accountability.
say as a racer, you're gonna have a civilized argument
Right.
for the most part,
Right,
unless
and
it's
I'll
something
argue
egregious.
with you.
You
As long
know,
as you don't put your hands on me, I'll
sure.
argue with you all day.
Well,
We'll hash it out.
And you were
But
talking,
when it's a 16-year-old, you can't even take the chance of having that conversation.
right?
Because if they smart off or they put your hands on you,
what are you supposed to do?
what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to put your hands on
And-
them back, and then next thing
There's
you know,
going to be a lot of zeros on that bond.
right.
Yeah.
So it makes it tough, but at the same time, things I've noticed, and maybe because it's so exaggerated at Bowman Gray, but I noticed the change over the years. When I was growing up, and I'll be the first to tell you, I when I stood up to Junior and I was young, and Junior was running over everybody, and I said he's not going to run over me. Well, I watched him do it for years, and so when he ran over me, I ran over him back. But I was 20 years old too. I wasn't a 15-year-old. But I can remember back in the day, if you were racing hard, and take me and Junior's thing out of the equation, that was a whole different bag of apples. But if you were racing hard with a guy and the guy caught you and the guy moved you, you just put it in the bank and you thought, next time I'm faster than him, I'm going to move him. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in there, it changed to a 100-lap draw race. Guy qualifies 15th and he draws the pole. Well, you qualify on the pole and draw 15th. Well, there's going to be that shift at some point during the race with 30 to go where you catch this guy. And the more pressure you put on him, the slower he goes. Well, then you bump him, he loses control of his car and he spins out. Next thing you know, he wants to run over you under caution. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened here to racing? Mm-hmm. And I know Bowman Gray is a product that creates that product because of the entertainment and the drama.
But it happens at every track.
But it's starting to happen everywhere now, to where my saying on my page, if you pull it up, if you're using your back bumper to keep me behind you, it's my job to use my front bumper to get past you. It's real simple. Mm-hmm. And if I do that, and in 3 races later, you're faster than me and you return that, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
And where that mutual respect of racing hard with contact, it's lost. It's gone. And you got guys that want to run over you, but
they're quick to give it. Mm-hmm.
Flow, look at me, I'm on TV. They're forgetting that there's racing there.
Right.
Yes, it's entertainment. We all know Bowman Gray's entertainment, but at the same time, we're there to race. We're there to race. And we said this about the TV show. If me and Landon are getting shown every week on TV, and you are running 5th every week, and you're spending money you don't have, and you're doing everything you can to run up front, and we're still 1st and 2nd every week, and you're not getting any coverage because you're 5th, how do you get on TV? You run into one of us, and all of a sudden the camera goes like this. That's Bowman Gray Stadium.
Well, I've always said
you want to be on TV, win races. That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm. I've always said there's people that get popular by being successful, and there's people that get popular by being attention whores. And there's two very, and we all know who they are. I mean, in different disciplines, but you were talking about Slate missing a shift, and your new class about how to shift, like this is a clutch.
Let me say this.
Absolutely love it, by the way.
Do you know what race car drivers miss shifts? All of them.
Yeah.
We've all done it.
Yeah.
We've all done it.
Well, and to that point, at Cordell or Cordeal, however you say it.
Ryan was mad at Slate because he missed a shift.
Yeah.
Well, when you've never missed a shift in your life, that's fine. And your deal, that's different because I know what you were driving at.
It's all poking fun just to get the people to damn run their mouth.
Right.
No, I know why you did. But I love that.
Your situation was different.
I love that.
Your situation was different.
Last year at Cordell or Cordeal, however you say it, when Carson Lofton was strong, Junior was strong, and Carson missed a shift. Yeah, and Junior ended up wadding his stuff up. Mm-hmm. Now, the way he handled it, he went to Carson and said, hey, man, what I do to prevent that from happening is when you're, coming down the backstretch and, you're getting ready to come to the green, like I'm putting the clutch in, I'm getting that muscle memory. And that's what I think is lost now is kind of the mentoring. You could go crazy and wad him up and do an interview and talk about how he's this, that, and the other and whatever, or you just try and change behavior. And of course, Junior owns a series. He's Dale Jr. Yes. But I felt like the way he handled it, there needs to be more of that from the older guys.
So it's funny you said that because what I was going to say when he was talking about Ryan and Slate, that's a perfect example of what used to happen all the time. And the reason I say that is, and maybe this is part of why the change has happened because we have less of these guys racing at this level. But when I grew up racing, I come in I started racing limited late models at Hickory. I was 15 years old. I was the youngest by a long shot. At that time, you had to be, 16 to run late model stock, 14 to run limited. And the difference was when I come in and run limited, I was racing against a bunch of grown men. Mm-hmm. They were all guys, because limited was the budget class. It didn't mean that it was less competition. There was 25 limiteds every single week, and I was racing against the Jeremy Pelfreys and the Knipes and the, all these guys that have raced late model stock for years too, but they just couldn't afford the tire bills, so they started running limited. If I screwed up they made sure I knew it, and they taught me that I screwed up. You know, I wanted their respect.
Right.
I raced with the hopes that they would respect me like they respect each other. And I feel like I earned that respect. And then nowadays, you know, you don't really have that dynamic because all the limited for the most part is, or even late model stock is all just money kids. And you have some of those old school guys still making it happen, but the money is harder and harder to find. So those guys keep getting weeded out, or you have guys that go into business like a Lee Pulliam or a Justin Carroll, who I drive for. You know, Justin raced for years just like Lee, and if he wanted to make a living, he had to start renting race cars out. You know, fortunately, our situation now is where I get to drive for him, and we have great partners, and it works out. But without our partners, I wouldn't be able to be there. You know, you wouldn't be able to go to the racetrack without the help of your partners either.
Absolutely.
So, I just don't think that there's enough of the old guys or veteran guys around the short tracks right now to teach these kids that if you act like a bonehead, you're going to get treated like a bonehead. Where, you know, or Robert Huffman would bust my ass if I did something stupid. You know, I'm sure your dad the same. So I don't know how we get back to that.
Well,
I don't know if we're ever going to really.
you
Well,
would
the
ha-
problem
I
is they're not receptive to it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think you would
can't
have.
say anything to them.
I think you would have more older guys being willing to step up if the younger guys were willing to just shut up and listen and take it for what it's worth, instead of having, you know, parents or sponsors or crew chiefs or whatever saying, "Man, screw that guy, man, he doesn't know anything." You know, like, no, you have to be receptive. You have to be part of the solution, being receptive just as much as the older guys are giving the advice. And until those young guys have people in their corner that want to help them grow the right way, I don't think you're going to see a shift.
Yeah.
Some of it's a shift too in just the economics of racing, because it costs more to do it. I mean, your Lee Pulliams aren't racing every weekend because they're making a living doing it the other way. I mean, if the sponsorship was there, you would see less of the pay kids and more of the grassroots
Yeah.
blue collar guys still racing. The product would be better.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's one thing that I hope the modifieds never lose is, you know, and I know there are some, you know, pay to play situations in modified racing, but for the most part, it's still more pure, I feel like, than what my late model stock racing is at the moment, or at least in this area. I can't speak for out west or what's, you know, happening out there, but, you know, I used to grow up going to Hickory Motor Speedway and watching all of the local legends race, and now you go and you watch a 14-year-old race against me or another 16 or 17-year-old that's not going to be there but for 1 year, and then move up to ARCA and then move up Ricard's Tour, then ARCA, then he'll be in a truck or Xfinity car, you know, in a 4-year time gap. So what is there really, you know, to learn, or what kind of value does that provide at your local tracks?
Well, with that being said, that kind of segues me into something I'm really curious about hearing both y'all's opinions on, one more so than the other. So Cletus is real big in everybody's kind of, you know, folders right now. And is he good for the sport? You know, does he belong? Should he be there? From an outsider looking in, probably different opinion than what y'all have. I like him. I think he's genuine. I think he's not a cookie cutter mold. And because of that, I think that's why a lot of top tier NASCAR doesn't like him, because they've become so, you know, just
corporate.
Yeah. And I like the fact that, you know, he gets out of the car and says, "I screwed up." I joke with him all the time and say, you know, drivers don't ever screw up. They've always got shitty equipment. But he gets out of the car and says, you know, "I screwed up." And I understand why he is being successful, and I don't have a problem with it. But that's coming from a fan. Now, somebody that's, like you said, didn't have a whole lot of money, you know, had to have up through the ranks, have earned your seat at the table. You the same way. What is your opinion on Cletus and, you know, top tier NASCAR?
You want to go first?
I will. That's fine. I don't have a problem with Cletus racing. There's people paying to race in all of NASCAR. So this all of a sudden situation where all these people are pissed, why aren't you pissed about the other 40 guys that are paying to be there?
Right.
Because ain't none of them got credentials either. Right. The credential is they paid someone at a lower level $20,000 to drive their race car, and now they're paying $4 million to drive an Xfinity car. What's the difference?
is
The only thing that I would like to see Cletus do, and for him, he is doing what he's doing because of his social. That's how he's gotten the money. But
That's
he's
his
not,
job.
Yeah, he's not paying for this out of his pocket. He's finding companies that are willing to spend the money. So, damn, that's what I'm trying to do.
Right,
so,
me
like,
too.
what's the
Right.
what's the difference in that regard? I just want to see him get the experience so that he can get there. I don't have a problem with him racing there because they're all pay drivers for the most part. I mean, I don't know what the number is now, but I still bet you all but maybe 5, 6 truck guys are paying to be there. Probably a little bit more in Xfinity, but maybe right about the same, So if he got a late model, I mean, he owns the damn short track.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this guy's doing a lot for our sport, maybe just in a different way that a traditionalist might look at it and say, oh, it's terrible, but it's really not.
Right.
He's putting eyeballs on it. And if he goes to a local short track, he's going to pack that short track out. And that's what I want to see him do. I want to see him
Yes.
start racing late model, get some experience at this local level, see what it's all about, and then go run Daytona or Talladega or do whatever the hell you want, from that regard. But come support the local tracks and bring the fans, and that's how you build it. And I don't have a problem with it. I just, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to go out there and crash because he don't have the experience.
But in that regard, I watched Phoenix this past weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and there were several veterans that made some mistakes.
Happens.
Wrecked some cars.
Yeah.
Because he's a veteran, he didn't get any trash.
Nope.
So, but if it's a Cletus or somebody else that in that same realm that maybe is in a position because of other than they just work their way up, they get trashed.
For sure.
So, I mean, in my situation, all right, how many years have I been the stuff that's been said about me? Well, he don't have a real job. He don't have a real job. That's what I've always heard because I race for a living.
For sure.
Right? He don't have a real job. He don't have a real job. But then there's guys out there paying to drive other people's stuff. What's the difference? I'm just doing it myself. Right?
I mean, none of us in racing have a real job then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in that regard, I mirror kind of what he's saying about Cletus. There's a part of me because I've been a victim of I've lost rides because somebody came in with money or somebody had a niche that I
As
didn't.
have I. Yeah.
So
I think
there's a
all
part.
of us.
We all have.
Anybody that races that doesn't have the money, you're going to have at least one of those experiences where you get
Right.
something ripped out from under you.
Right.
I mean, that's to me
and you see somebody out there doing it.
unfortunate nature of the sport.
Right.
Yeah,
You see
it
somebody
sucks,
out
but-
there doing it, and you're like, and they're not very good,
Mhm.
but they're there because they get attention. And there's a part of me as an old school veteran racer that goes, man, if I could just get that opportunity, it'd be a whole different ballgame. There is that. There's always going to be that. It's human nature. But at the same time, he's playing the game. He's playing the game. And if him playing the game that way is getting those opportunities and he's getting to do it, more power to you, man. More power to you. Like, can you imagine that, they're doing the Crown Vic race at Bowman Gray this year. Cletus shows up and runs that race. Holy moly. Can you imagine what that would be? It'd be good for Bowman Gray.
There's
It'd be
no
good
loser
for
there.
us.
Yeah.
It would be good for the fans.
Yeah.
It'd be good for the community, for Flo.
Yeah.
Think about what that would bring.
For sure.
So there's I've been doing it long enough too. I understand the entertainment side of things and the promotion and the marketing side of it. So I get it, and he does too, apparently.
Yeah, and if I understood it correctly, I think he's got a jet boat, and he's trying to sell the jet boat to
think you told me
create
that.
some funding to start a late model program, maybe. So to your point about what you would like to see him, start and then begin the progression, it seems like to me that his intentions are genuine.
Yeah. I mean,
And I don't doubt that at all. I don't think what he's doing is a publicity stunt at all. I think he has, and a lot of it comes from his relationship with Biffle. I think he has a legitimate appreciation for motorsports. I think he wants to be a part of it. There is a business side of
I
it.
think the biggest pushback you're seeing is like, on Titanic, when they say that's old money, oh, that's new money.
Yeah.
And they don't really accept them because it's new money.
Right.
But even that, so I think that's kind of where Cletus maybe is getting some pushback is he's new money. and he's not being accepted in that clique because of that. I don't know if that kind of sounds corny or not, but I think you get what I'm saying.
So is your opinion the same of Natalie Decker?
Hey everybody, it's Devin from New Again, and today I'm going to show you a different way you can use our rust remover kit. As you can see, there is some surface rust right here on this table saw. Someone left a jug that had some water on it, or some water just got trapped underneath the jug, creating an outline, or whatever this is, of surface rust. So first we're going to take our soapy water, we're going to get rid of any contaminants, any loose particles on the surface. Then we're going to take our gel, we're going to apply it to the surface, let it spread out. Then we're going to take our applicator pad and we're going to actually agitate it a little bit, try and get it in there a little bit deeper if we can. So the key point is just making sure that everything's covered with this gel. Then we're going to let it sit for a little bit. So after you see that the rust has been removed, we're going to wipe it down, we're going to rinse it, we're going to dry it and see what it looks like. And these are the results. You can find New Again in the grilling section at Home Depot or online at homedepot.com.
I'll say this. I don't care where you're from, what color you are, what gender you are, what ethnicity, whatever. I don't care about any of that stuff as long as you can perform.
I think
that's my thing. If you can perform, more power to you. But there have been certain situations where you can't perform at all, but you have the niche and they still let you play the game. I don't like that too good.
So how do you regulate that?
You can't.
I agree.
Well, you can't because of the nature of the sport.
Yeah.
I mean,
because what it's turned into with social media and all that stuff,
to what you said about, feeling like if you had that opportunity, that's something I battled with for a long time early in my career. Like I was done racing, in 2017, 2018. 2018 was really the last year I had my own car. And then I was spotting for a living. That's what I was doing. And right after college. And I had a lot of just jealousy towards a lot of the kids or guys at the time that I was out running at a local level with no money or competing with. And then seeing them just pay their way all the way through. And now they're racing on Saturdays, Sundays, and I'm sitting at home not doing anything. And it was like a bad mental space for me. Mm-hmm. And when I realized, like, you know what, all you got to do is figure out how to find the money, then you can at least get back in a car. Well, once I tried to switch my mindset, because it's still always going to bother you. I mean, it's always going to bother you because you can drive the damn race car and you can drive it better than them. You think you can drive the race car better than me, and I think I can drive the race car better than you. If you don't have that mentality as a race car driver, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And I guess for me, it just ate me up for a while once I realized that they're going to go do what they're going to do regardless. It don't matter how good you are. Mm-hmm. You got to figure out how to get yourself in the seat so you can show how good you are. Then that sort of helped me move forward. And now I'm, a lot's happened and I'm able to sit here at the table now and tell you that I drive race cars, for a living and work on them for a living. So to Cletus's point about him being genuine and wanting to get in the sport, driving a race car is the coolest damn job in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why we do it. That's why we want to do it.
Right.
I mean, we love it. And from somebody on the outside looking in, I don't blame him for wanting to do it.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I don't understand why people are criticizing him for wanting to drive a race car. It's an awesome thing to do.
Right.
So
and sponsorship dollars are hard to come by. And I feel like there's an art to get to landing good sponsors. Of course, a lot of it comes with success. If you're successful, it seems like the money is a little bit easier, at least to get in the room with the decision makers. And you've got some really good sponsors. I was telling you, I like your hat, and I just like the name Broken Antler. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How did that relationship come about with? Because it seems like you've got the alcohol covered. You've got the dispensaries covered.
Yeah, you can really tell my target market, right?
The only thing I think you're missing, maybe I just missed it's a nicotine brand somewhere.
Yeah, I don't have a nicotine brand yet, but I mean, we're always hoping for new partners.
Yeah.
It's actually I've been very blessed over the last, 4 or 5 years. I started driving for people locally at Hickory and just got my feet wet driving for a friend of mine, Jason Smith, who, he grew up and didn't have any money racing either. We were taking an old race car to late model races and started running well. So then we're like, you know what, let's do the full season deal. Let's try it. I was streaming iRacing on Twitch at the time. So that was how I was making money during COVID. And I had a bunch of people watching. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of people watching this.
Yeah.
Like maybe I can turn this into something. So I started running sponsorships on my stream where you could pay $25 or whatever and get your name on the car. And that's how I was paying for the tire bill to go race, was through my
pretty
stream.
cool.
That's playing the game.
That's
It's
100%.
playing the game, man.
And
Hats off.
we did well. And then I got some of my local partners back involved. We were able to run for the championship. I won the championship at Hickory, and I was able to do that with my dad and Jason. And around that time period, I was making all these YouTube videos and I was vlogging what I was doing. And I'm like, man, if it works on the live stream, it's got to work on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Hunt the Front was doing it on a dirt side. I could not find anybody from an asphalt standpoint that was really doing it consistently. Doug Barnes had done it some, but he had taken some time off, and Boo Carlisle was doing it with his street stock stuff, but not consistently. So I just picked up a camera, started restoring my dad's old 90s NASCAR shop, and started going to the racetrack. And that shop was falling down. It had, stuff packed to the ceiling. My grandpa still owns it, but owned it at the time, was just using it for storage because nothing was in there. And it's where my dad had raced all his Goodies Dash cars out of for years. And so cleared it out, and I've raced out of it for the last 4 years and made a restoration, little series on YouTube and vlogged. And that's how Dale Jr. found me, was through the YouTube channel, and we started playing video games together. And
There's a lot of success stories that has come from Dale Jr. and video games.
yeah,
You know?
we started playing video games together and got to be friends. And that was around the time that North Wilkesboro Speedway was coming back. So there was a lot of buzz around it, and the Cars Tour was going there. And I had an old late model that had no business racing in the Cars Tour. And he's like, man, you going to run? I'm like, no, I'm not running. Like, I can't afford that. He's like, well, they're doing a limited race. I'm like, man, I'm in a championship hunt at Hickory. Like, I don't want to risk my car just to go do this, but it'd be awesome to do it. Man, come see me. Okay. So I met him at JRM. He's like, well, he said, well, 3,000 help you run a limited race. I said, I can do that. If I can find that. So he gave me $3,000, and I went and ran the limited race, and he called me, before the limited race. He said, hey, I'm going to put High Rock on your car. It's my new vodka. I'm like, okay. And he introduced
That actually
me.
sounds a lot like him.
He does. I'm sitting here. I can hear Dale
If I
Jr.
had my eyes closed,
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
can
like,
hear
man,
Dale
that's pretty good.
I can hear him saying that. Yeah, go ahead.
And he introduced me to all the Sugarlands people, which was the parent company for High Rock. They own it with Dale and Amy. And so he introduced me to their head of sales and their marketing lady, and they came to Wilkesboro, and I had High Rock all over, an old style body, limited late model. I looked like a caveman. I had long hair, beard. I mean, it was like, I look back and I'm like, man, Landon, like, I can't believe my wife even stayed with me during that time period of my life. But the rest is history. I had a good showing there. We had a lot of fun, did a lot of cool social media stuff with it. And then I worked a deal with Sugarlands to have High Rock on the car all year next year, and had them for 3 years. And then this will be my 4th year working with Sugarlands. And they recently started or just released this new whiskey brand called Broken Antler. And we've got them on the car this year. It's a cool camo looking car. And, it's a little different not seeing the blue on the car that I've seen for the last 3 years, but it's been fun. We've done a lot of promotional stuff. We're doing some stuff with Mark and Digger, the two moonshiners that they have a part of their, talent pool that do a lot of the moonshine promotion stuff with them. They were actually on the Discovery Channel show Moonshiners. So I get to have them on the car for Newport Cars Tour race. So just doing a lot of cool stuff, and very blessed to work with cool people, and still get to aggravate Dale every once in a while too.
Yeah.
So.
How did the race for the seat thing come about?
That I got a call from one of the Dodge producers that were on the show.
I mean, did you see it coming, or like it's just completely?
They just
out of the
called
blue?
me one day. Yeah, which I had been talking back and forth over years with Chris Rice and just acquaintances. I mean, you see all these guys at the racetrack, and they all come from short tracks too, so they know who you are. And it just worked out that, I got an opportunity to go do it. Didn't win it, but finished well on it. And, it was a good experience. Hopefully something comes of it. But
I think we all knew who the winner was before y'all did.
yeah.
I'd like to know who
It leaked out pretty quick.
I'd like to know who broke that NDA. That it all got out.
I don't know. I don't, that's probably not for me to answer.
Don't blame you.
Did that that whole series and everything, did you feel like it was pretty fair?
Yeah. I mean, as fair as they can make it, it's racing. Like, the racing part of it, that was tough because the cars weren't even, the Legends cars, you know, it was pretty obvious the
I
first
watched
day.
one episode, okay, and it was the
Legends, yeah.
Legends. The 3 people that won were in the car that they said was the best car.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute.
The car I drove finished last in every race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not fair.
It had a vibration from hell, man. I'm
So
telling you.
then they said, well, we're going to take this car out of the mix. Well, if you knew that was the best car, that's not fair to give that car to somebody. But listen.
Yeah, that's what's tough. And you like something different in your race car than I like in mine.
I get that.
So that made it even tougher because, you know, you look for certain things as a driver that make your car go, well, we were going to these places and you get 5 minutes of practice and go straight to qualifying, straight to race. And if you were in the first group, you didn't get to watch anybody. So all the short tracks we were going to, that's fine. I've been there, but we went to VIR in a late model, and I've never ran a lick of road course race in my life, never turned right once. And I have to be in the first group, and I get 5 minutes of practice and go straight to race, and then everybody else, gets to watch us race. So they're watching where we're shifting. I'm learning this on the fly, baby.
Right.
We're figuring it out. I was fast, but I was out of control. I ran off the track a couple times, and so those aspects of it, you could say that that's an unfair advantage one way or the other. But to me, for what they were doing, the reality show type deal that it was a first opportunity to try to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money in the production, and I feel like for what they did the best they could. And now that they've done it once, there's a lot of opportunity to make it better, in the future. But
well, I say that, but at the same time, I'd love to have done it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
for sure.
I'm not bashing it by any means.
Well, I mean, I do think that there's a couple ways to look at it, right? Like it sucked because I feel like I could be the guy that's racing in a truck. I feel like all 14 of those guys that were there felt that way, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's only going to be one person happy.
So when I
That's the
saw
winner.
the list of drivers,
Mhm.
I said you, Mike Christopher Jr.,
Mhm.
and Trevor Ward. That were the 3 that I thought could easily go to the truck series and in the right situation could be successful. That was my 3 picks.
Yeah, and
So yeah,
it is just
it didn't turn out that way.
no.
but-
I mean, you got to think too. From if we're talking about fairness, we're racing late model stock cars, and Mike Christopher Jr.'s never raced a late model
Right,
stock car,
right.
and he's having to race against me and Jared Fryer, and guys that
I forgot about Jared. Jared was Jared's good too.
guys that
I
are
forgot about Jared.
guys that are late model stock guys, or you've got Carson Ferguson, who yes, he's a dirt guy, but he's a Legends world champion.
Mm-hmm.
So we're having to race against Carson in a Legends car. He's gonna kick our ass, and he did.
Right, yeah.
But every driver on that show is a very well accomplished driver,
Yeah.
and all, in my opinion, could do it at the next level. I think one thing, my only complaint really from the whole show was I really wished they would have showcased the fact that there are 15 badass race car drivers on this show and showcase who those guys were, because at no point in time during the production you knew that Austin Beers was the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion, or that Jared Fryer comes from a long lineage of awesome race car drivers, or that Michael Christopher Jr. has a huge modified background. Like, these are all racing families, and they bypass the opportunity for the viewer to buy into these guys.
Right.
Like, that would have been a huge win for us. If you don't win the seat, the goal would be to get yourself in front of this audience,
Right.
to show who you are, what your brand is, and why you're a good fit for a partner out there that might could put some funding behind you to go race. Well, I felt like they really concentrated on the racing and maybe just didn't showcase the personalities and the drivers like they probably could have. But hopefully moving forward,
Next
the
go
next
around,
time
they
they do
might,
it,
yeah.
they'll
Well,
do it.
it could be that whoever was doing the production, they were not race fans. Like, they were producers.
Which they were not, this was all new to them. So when they were watching us race, it was incredible to them. Like, for
Right.
us, we're out there, there's 5 of us on the track.
Yeah.
Like, you can only make it as exciting as you can make it for us. We're used to racing against 30 guys. But for them, just to see 2 cars going around at speed was like, wow,
Yeah,
you guys
right.
do this, and so it was definitely a different experience, and I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to do it. Met a lot of awesome people. The staff was kick ass. I mean, they were just so plugged into what we're doing. They're all still keeping up with us, in our racing today, or throughout the year this year as we started. So I'm excited. I made a lot of friends. You you get thrown into a house with 14 other dudes for 3 weeks, no cell phone, no internet, no TV, no connection to the outside world except me and the dude sitting beside me. And he's sitting there and we're looking at each other, and Jared's like, man, you think they'll give us beer in here? And I'm like, so we had this phone in the back. You could get out. They called it the bat phone. You go back there and you pick the phone up. It rings. Somebody from production answers it, who's in the basement. And they say, what can I do for you? Can I get a beer? Sure. What'd you want? Bush Light? Sure. Meet you at the steps.
That's pretty
So
cool.
then all the
man.
other guys are like, I want one. Oh, can I have 2 more?
Can you
Who's
bring a
it
couple
for?
cases?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure a house full of race car drivers immediately start trying to figure out, all right, how can we work this best in our benefit?
right.
And how can we bend some rules here?
I guess my point from all that was I got to know those guys being in there, and you have so many similarities. And I'm just like, man, I've raced against Jared Fryer for 10 years, and I've never spoke to him other than conversations about race cars at the racetrack. We're talking about family, and you don't realize what kind of friends you can make, in the racing world, because we're always used to racing against each other, wanting to beat each other. But when you're thrown into that scenario, it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Made a lot of good friends. Me and Mike Christopher got to be pretty good friends. I've never crossed paths with Mike before if it wouldn't have been for that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him on my podcast here coming up because he just announced he was running a truck at Rockingham. So I'm going to try to grab him hopefully next week and bring him on. But it was a cool experience.
Well, we just got done wrapping up with Landon Huffman. Great guest, had a lot of fun. He and Bert just had a lot in common. I enjoyed hearing a lot of his perspective on things. And it was actually so much that we decided we're going to make this a 2-part. So make sure next week, tune in. Part 2 from the Landon Huffman interview will air. We appreciate you checking us out and watching part 1.